There's been this article or question going around Twitter that if you guys want to get more information about it in terms of like the answers, go check out Mark, the Gospel with Mark with a C, Geeks and Gamers, and SC Reviews, because those three channels kind of dives into the whole actual like reply to this question that was asked on Twitter. And by the way, hello fellow shadows, welcome to another video. And today, I'm going to be saying the obvious reason why a lot of the Star Wars fan base dislikes Rian Johnson. And it's not only directed towards Rian Johnson, it's directed to like also Kathleen Kennedy and it's pretty much a lot of the people at Lucasfilms ever since like The Last Jedi. But we're just gonna focus on Rian Johnson, which I did make a similar video to this like a few weeks ago on this channel as well. So yeah, like I said, there was this question asked saying what is the beef with Star Wars, like for the Star Wars fan base and Rian Johnson? I can tell you why. It's kind of started with The Last Jedi, and yeah, it wasn't exactly the best movie of the Star Wars movies, and it's not the best movie that I've seen. I'm not saying it's worse, the worst one I've seen, because the worst Star Wars movie I've seen is the Holiday Special, and the Last Airbender kind of is the worst movie that I've personally ever seen. And then you can potentially say The Last Jedi. And I've seen some pretty bad movies. Sorry, I adjusted my camera, but pretty much, yeah, the reason why a lot of the fan base hates hates Rian Johnson is not necessarily because of The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi could have sucked, it was kind of a letdown for a sequel, but that wouldn't exactly make the fans hate Rian Johnson. I mean, look at George Lucas and how he did the prequels. To be honest, episode 1 was kind of like over half the movie was boring in terms of the like, cause I was watching it as a kid and the political scenes were kind of like boring to me, and I just wanted some action. Attack of the Clones, it has some cringy lines in it, but it was a pretty great sequel in my opinion. It wasn't to like the Empire Strikes Back level, but it was still a pretty solid sequel in my opinion. And yeah, I have some issues with Attack of the Clones, but there's still some, like, a lot of aspects of Attack of the Clones that I still like. Same with The Phantom Menace. Revenge of the Sith is like the best movie of the prequels. And George Lucas had gotten so much hate on the prequels. Cause yeah, maybe it's not in the direction like some fans would exactly wanted it to be in terms of like the execution. But we all can respect the whole the general storytelling, cause George Lucas had an overall story in mind for the prequels. How he executed it, I don't agree with all of his choices, and he had a lot of hate with a lot of his choices that he made making the prequels. But I will be willing to watch the prequels pretty much any time, anywhere, any place, like 2 times in a row. With The Last Jedi, I not as willing to watch it as many times as I do now. And The reason why I brought George Lucas up with the prequels thing, because yeah, both movies are Star Wars. The prequels were Star Wars. The Last Jedi is Star Wars. The difference is George Lucas accepted the criticisms. He didn't bash fans for criticizing the prequels. Rian Johnson and the people behind Lucasfilms did and have been doing that. And they're wrong for that. And to be honest, this isn't me trying to bash anyone, because I realize that that's what I'm doing, but I'm not really trying to bash anyone. But if Lucasfilms goes out and bash the fans who criticize any of their movies, regardless if it's The Last Jedi, Solo, Force Awakens, Rogue One, or any other Star Wars movie that comes down in the future, which Rise of Skywalker, which will be Episode 9, is the one movie that's coming in the near future. But if Lucasfilms decides to bash the fans who criticize their movies and expect the fans not to get mad, but the fans take it, then all due respect, the people at Lucasfilms, is not the brightest. Because if you decide to bash fans who dislike your product, or has any criticisms with your product, then one, you should not be in movie business. You should not be in the art world. Because filmmaking is an art. And you should not be in the art world if you cannot take criticism. And Rian Johnson has bashed fans who disliked The Last Jedi. And that's really unfair. And Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers actually does make a pretty solid point. He said in his video on Geeks and Gamers, if Rian Johnson said, you know what, I wanted to subvert expectations, I wanted to experiment a bit, it didn't work. It didn't cling to fans as I wanted. Pretty much taking responsibility that he screwed up, besides bashing the fans who disliked his movie. Then yeah, there might be still some people that be frustrated with The Last Jedi, but there won't really be anyone that hates Rian Johnson. I have more respect for M. Night Shyamalan, to be honest, because The Last Airbender is, in my opinion, the worst. Well, for me personally, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. And M. Night Shyamalan, probably butchering the last part, sorry. He took the criticism like a man, not like a child, but like a man, like a grown-up. He didn't attack the fans as far as I'm aware. He took it. And that's why I respect him. And that's why if I see M. Night Shyamalan in the streets, I wouldn't mind being friends with him. If he asks, hey, Phil, do you want to be friends? I'll say, yeah, sir. I'll be cool with that. But if I saw Rian Johnson in the street, or Kathleen Kennedy, because she's just as guilty as Rian Johnson in this case, or anybody else who has pretty much pulled a Rian Johnson, came up to me in the street, say, hey, Phil, do you want to be friends? No. Why not? Because you can't handle criticism. Part of the art world is you supposed to take criticism. Yes, there might be some jerks, but you're supposed to take criticism. And I don't want to be friends with someone who cannot take criticism. Because, in my opinion, yeah, friends are a good thing. You're supposed to help each other, build each other up, have fun with each other. But I don't want to be friends with someone who can't take criticism, because one of my good friends that you've seen on this channel, me and him have been friends for 12 years. And me and him are besties that count each other as brothers. And I'm a week older than him. And over the 12 years, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. There has been some rough patches. There's been some times when he brought it like some stuff that he didn't like me doing up to me, and vice versa. Pretty much, there were times when me and him had kind of like criticized each other, but it wasn't out of spite or hate. It's out of friendship and respect and brotherly love. And me and him respects each other for that. The same thing applies to the whole Last Jedi situation. At least 90% of the fans of Star Wars or 90% of the people who criticized The Last Jedi were actual friends who had actual critiques about the movie and who was hoping Lucasfilms would take it like an adult and try to apply that in Rise of Skywalker. Will that happen? I don't know. But to be honest, the people at Lucasfilms hasn't done that. Rian Johnson hasn't done that. And he has been consistently bashing us fans who criticize The Last Jedi, even if it's just one line like, I don't like for me personally, I don't like how they killed Luke Skywalker off. I wouldn't, yeah, I'll probably be frustrated that they killed Luke Skywalker off, but I wouldn't have been towards Rian Johnson. Because after I watched the prequels, because I knew Obi-Wan Kenobi died by Darth Vader, but after I watched the prequels, like, this was before I officially watched A New Hope, I seen glimpses and pieces of the 6 original Star Wars movies before I was a fan, before I considered myself as a fan, before I watched Revenge of the Sith, because that's my favorite first Star Wars movie. When Darth Vader killed Obi-Wan Kenobi, I was frustrated with that scene, like, no! But it wasn't towards George Lucas, it was because of good writing. And how he decided to kill Obi-Wan Kenobi off was like, even though it might sound weird me saying this, but it was great for the character. It fit the character, if you know what I'm saying. Luke Skywalker's death was not fitting for his character, in my opinion. Now, like I said before, because there's been some rumors that they might kill Leia off in Episode 9, but out of old age. I'll be okay with that. Because that's what they did with Yoda, and that Yoda's death was heartbreaking. I know Leia's death scene, if they choose to go the whole old age route, will be heartbreaking as well. But that will also be fitting for her character, especially since they chose not to really have her as a Jedi, a political Jedi, as they did in the Legends, the old expanded universe. But like, I dislike how they killed off Luke Skywalker. I always said I was okay with grumpy old Luke, because one, we kind of got a hint of him back towards the end of The Last Jedi, and two, there was still one more movie left that we would be able to see the old Luke that we knew from the original trilogy come back, but as a more mature person. But they killed him off, and I was mad about that. And yes, he's gonna be a Force Ghost, but still. And just because I said I didn't exactly mind what they did with Luke Skywalker, in terms of having him grumpy, does not exactly mean that I entirely liked it. And I do understand a lot of people's frustrations with how they decided to take Luke Skywalker. And even Mark Hamill said that he had to divorce his mind from playing Luke Skywalker and create a different Skywalker called Jake Skywalker, just so he can be able to play this version of the character that he's been playing for 40 years, practically. And I feel bad for Mark Hamill, too, because Rian Johnson pretty much said F you to all the things Mark Hamill said to Mark when Mark was saying, hey, Luke Skywalker wouldn't do this. But, and there was, like, one comment where they said Empire Strikes Back wasn't as good of a sequel or a movie as The Last Jedi was. Like, what the hell? The Empire Strikes Back, with all the three, if you want to count the holiday special as a sequel, 4 then, sequels. It's Empire Strikes Back is the best out of the 4 sequels of Star Wars, if like the 4th being the holiday special. Like, here's my ranking of the best sequels in the Star Wars lineup. And I'm not going to account the holiday special. So there's Empire Strikes Back. And was a good way, even though Vader is German for father apparently. But Vader, the reveal with that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father was pretty much a sucker punch. It was diverting expectations in a good way. And it served the story really well. Especially since it also served what happened, like, it served A New Hope pretty well as well. And created doubt in Luke Skywalker, which was great. Some doubt, not much, but still. Empire Strikes Back was great. In all the areas where it subverted expectations, it did well. Character development was great. I loved it. Then comes Attack of the Clones. Yeah, the love scene, the dialogue in there between Padme and Anakin is cheesy, and half the time I skip most of their one-on-one scenes. But it builds off of Phantom Menace, and it does tease like some things that we saw in the original trilogy. And it built onto the characters that we've introduced from either like A New Hope with like Obi-Wan, and also build off the prequel version of Obi-Wan, while building off the characters, some of the other characters from like that was in the prequels, like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Mace Windu, whatever. And it was the first time we got to see a lot of the Jedi, besides just 2 together, in the same area, wielding their lightsabers and attacking people and using their Jedi skills, which was awesome. And then it was, regardless of what my issues was with Attack of the Clones, that is definitely the major thing for me that I loved about Attack of the Clones, is the Geonosis battle with all the Jedi and Padme. Because, Padme was literally the only one that was a non-Jedi user. A non-Jedi. And then, The Last Jedi is the last one. Because it was focusing more on subverting expectations than anything else. It didn't really try to focus on character development as much as it could/should have been. And the issue isn't really The Last Jedi. Like, the fans' issue isn't really directed towards The Last Jedi with Rian Johnson. We're just going to isolate with Rian Johnson. The fans' issue with Rian Johnson isn't necessarily because of The Last Jedi, even though he did say on record, if he could, he would try to split the fandom, where one side of the fandom loved or praised his Star Wars movie, the other completely hated it, which he kind of set himself up for failure right then. But but by saying bashing fans who had criticized your movie, who doesn't like your movie, especially for valid reasons, and dismissing them as not valid arguments, and bashing those people, you're creating yourself. You're creating. You're creating your own heat, Rian Johnson, and creating. You're creating yourself to have a career suicide, and that's sad. It's not us fault. It's yours, and it's kind of Kathleen Kennedy's fault as well, because she's encouraging you from doing this. But it's mostly on you, Rian Johnson. So if you don't want people to be bashing you for the shit that you've done, I apologize. Acknowledge the criticisms are valid, even if you don't agree. Even if you don't agree with those criticisms, and stop bashing us fans, because more and more fans who just get not to like you, and if you continue this, nobody's going to watch your movies. All your movies are going to be a flop in the box office, and you will have no one else to blame but yourself, Rian Johnson. So that's that's even though this took like what 20 minutes of explaining, that's what like the Star Wars fan base beef is with directors like Rian Johnson. And a lot of the points I made, Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi alone, is what a lot of fans' beef is with the people at Lucasfilms in general. And yeah, it was like I said, I kind of did make a video of that beforehand on this channel, which if you haven't done so already, please check it out. But anyways, did I miss any point? Did I miss any points that you guys feel that I could have or should have made? Leave a comment below. And pretty much, why, if assuming that there are any of you guys that do watch my videos on here, why do you guys like? What is your guys' beef directed towards Rian Johnson? Leave a comment below, and may the force be with us all.